Hey guys, what is up? John here from fly8mikealpha.com, and you've probably never wondered how long your windscreen would hold up to fire if you ever did have an in-flight fire, but today we're going to answer that question for you. All right, so the main idea of this video here really came from when I was a newer student pilot, private pilot. You think about those emergencies you might have in flight. What if the engine catches fire? Well, you run through your flows, you do those checklists, you do all that stuff that your instructor teaches you. It never really dawned on me until I probably had 40, 50, 60 hours in my logbook that, oh, actually, if this caught fire in flight, this windscreen that's protecting my face may not protect my face for very long. This is plastic, it could melt. It seems very obvious, but it's something that's not always apparent to us as newer pilots. And today we're going to find out exactly how long the windscreen, well, what's left of the other half of the windscreen, will hold up to an in-flight fire. How long will it take for these flames to melt through that windscreen, simulated as if you had a fire in flight? Let's get to it and have some fun. I think it's safe to say that with any sort of aerodynamic force on there, it's gonna be pushed in and collapse pretty quickly on you there. So yeah, if you ever do catch fire, if you're ever unlucky enough to be in that situation, keep in mind, if you have flames coming over that cowling, try to put out the fire as quickly as possible. Do everything your flight instructor taught you. Think about everything that's in that POH and that emergency checklist, comply with all of that, and then get this thing on the ground as soon as possible because this fire is burning pretty good. Yeah, we're gonna have to put this out. Stand by. Actually, yeah, use that. It's going pretty good. Coming from the inside. Bottom line, if this does happen to you in flight, it's gonna be a bad day. Hopefully, once you remove the fuel source from the fire, turning the fuel valve off or pulling the fuel valve into the off position, pulling the mixture on a fuel-injected engine, anything to stop the flow of fuel from the fuel selector valve through the firewall into the cowling will probably stop the fire. Obviously, there's oil on your engine, 7, 8 quarts worth. That can certainly burn, but only for so long. If it's still burning and you cannot get it to go out, most engine fire checklists in flight actually call for an airspeed closer to VNO rather than VNE, but most people will agree if you cannot get the fire out, then VNE is going to be your best friend. Go ahead and bank the airplane a little bit of a turn, 45 to 60 degrees of bank, depending on high wing or low wing. Essentially, you are inducing some drag to come down quicker because you want this thing on the ground ASAP while you're pitching for VNE. But most importantly, you're in that bank looking for a good place to land, picking out a spot away from people, buildings, all that sort of stuff. When you're on fire, especially if the windscreen actually does start melting, you're probably not going to be threading the needle into any parking lots or city streets. So looking for a safe place to put your flying bomb at this point. And then obviously, just before you get down to the ground, slowing that aircraft down to best glide and even slower for the landing, trying to land the aircraft with as little energy as possible. But get that energy in the aircraft and get that thing down as quickly as possible. Retractable gear airplanes typically call for dropping the gear. And again, once you remove the fuel source, there's a good chance the fire will go out, whether you're removing the oil, it's all gets burned up, or you cut off the fuel, the actual avgas or jet fuel. There's a good chance that fire will go out, at which case you'd probably be pitching for something closer to best glide and then picking for an engine out spot, possibly restarting, but Probably not, because if it was just on fire with fuel and then you fix it by turning the fuel off, turning the fuel back on, probably catch fire more. So you probably won't do that. Although sometimes you see people teaching it that way in the real world. Once the fire is out, if you do at all have a good place to land the aircraft, do so. Just bear in mind that you're not going miles at this point. If you do catch fire at a few thousand feet AGL, you're going probably at a relatively something like a 45-degree angle or less. Whatever you see directly underneath you is probably your best bet. You're not going to be trying to fly the airplane 10 miles, for another 5 minutes while it's on fire. You can see how quickly that windscreen went. And although it did last about a minute, it really did not last a minute. Any sort of airflow on that thing would have collapsed it far sooner. However, if we were actually in flight and we caught the fire early, we could have dumped the nose, blown a lot of air on it, possibly kept the temperature low enough, or even blown out the fire for it to not get to that point. Once that thing is self-sustaining, you can see that fire river running through the cockpit there. Not going to be a good day. Hopefully this never happens to you, but at least now you know roughly how long you have. Think about what you should do if something like this happens to you. Read through your POH, your emergency checklist. Think about, hey, am I going to be popping a door and relatching it with it open? Am I going to be opening windows? Am I going to be turning off a fuel valve? Am I going to be pulling a mixture? On carbureted motors, probably not so much, but on fuel injected, maybe. All these different things. Am I going to be turning mags off? Will I leave them on? What will I do in my particular aircraft I'm flying? Have those thoughts on the ground, run through those scenarios, do a little bit of chair flying. So if it does happen to you in flight, your response time is quick, because I would say seconds matter here. So hopefully you found that informative. A couple things to bear in mind. Once you do climb on board that aircraft and your passengers climb on board, you do have a duty to protect them and the people on the ground. So if you do get into a bad situation, don't just head for that city street that's full of cars and other innocent people. You may have to take it upon yourself to head to a less desirable area for you, but protect that life and property on the ground. I can tell you from previous experience, yes, it is very easy to kick windows out of airplanes and possibly kick the doors open once you do land, or crash essentially. But I can also tell you from breaking bones and dislocating bones that those members don't really do a whole lot for you anymore. So if you do break an arm, you're not going to be using that arm for much. If you break a leg, break your pelvis, break your back, you're going to want to have an easy way to get out of the airplane, especially if it's on fire, before you touch down. So getting those windows and doors open beforehand, pretty good bet. If it's getting hot in that cockpit and you feel yourself starting to burn up, you got any water around, go ahead and dump that all over yourself. Anything to try to keep your temperature down on your skin. And bear in mind that synthetic fabrics when we're flying, not always such a great idea, because, oh boy, yeah, melted polyester all over your skin, that really hurts. And yeah, polyester also burns. So regular fibers like cotton, natural occurring fibers, definitely a lot better if you are going to ever experience something like this in flight. Most of all, hopefully this never happens to you, but I do hope that this video helps prepare you in case this ever does, to ensure a slightly better outcome than otherwise would have been. For more slightly unorthodox videos like this, to learn more about your aircraft, the systems, how they're built, go ahead and check out the Cherokee video series here on YouTube, or all the other Cherokee videos on our website at flyatmyself.com, along with all those online courses to help you prepare for your written exams, check rides, all that good stuff for private, instrument, commercial, CFI, tailwheel, seaplane, ski flying, multi-engine, everything that you could possibly ever do in an airplane, online there at flyatmyself.com. Any questions on this or anything else, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and reach out to us in the comments below. Feel free to share this video on social media, Facebook, with your friends. Hopefully we can all learn and become better pilots together. Until next time, guys, please don't catch fire, and if you cannot fly every day, fly8mykelfa.com. We will see you guys in the next one.